No, there was no double spending event on Bitcoin's blockchain. It doesn't matter what JP Morgan says about Bitcoin being the least reliable hedge against the dollar. And it matters very little that Firo, unfortunate as it may be, suffered a 51% attack. Guys, right now there is a lot of FUD in this space, and for no good reason. We are very fickle forest creatures, and unfortunately, everybody just loves to jump on an opportunity to sell. But the smart money right now is buying up Bitcoin and altcoins on the cheap. Believe me, because there's big news happening in the background. You may have only heard about the negatives, but there is so much positive news currently circulating. We're going to be discussing some of that, including the major news, of course, out of Blackrock. Just about every hedge fund right now is increasing their position in Bitcoin. So once again, the smart money is buying Bitcoin. I'm buying Bitcoin. Shash is buying Bitcoin. Whales and institutions are buying Bitcoin. And other altcoins, of course. So we're asking this question, are you buying the dip? Guys, if you like this kind of content, Bitcoin, blockchain, and cryptocurrency, be sure to like and subscribe to Altcoin Buzz. Right now, at the time of this recording, Bitcoin is bouncing around the $31.5 thousand range. There's a lot of negativity right now in the space. A lot of people have taken profits, and we've seen a sell-off to the tune of about 10% or so for Bitcoin, but also across the rest of the cryptocurrency spectrum. And here on Zero Hedge, we're going to be addressing some of these negative stories head on. There are three in particular that I want to address, starting with this so-called double spending event, which didn't happen. It's just a whole lot of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Okay, let's get into this here. At 6 a.m. on the 20th of January, BitMEX's fork monitor noted that, quote, multiple blocks were produced at height 666833, BitMEX research tweeted. An hour later, BitMEX research attributed the orphan block to an RBF transaction, which is where an unconfirmed transaction is replaced with a new transfer, paying a higher fee. However, Fork Monitor has since updated its advice to say no RBF bumps have been detected. You should read this article in full for all the technical details, but in short, while the original BitMEX report appears to have been taken out of context at best and was fake news at worst, the sharp sell-off that it prompted was all too real. We're still living through that, unfortunately. And more importantly, upside momentum has now been lost for the time being, as Bitcoin's drop, quote, has taken it through the support line that had sustained its recent rally, which is frustrating, of course, because we were forming a fairly nice symmetrical triangle. And now, on the basis of totally false news, this fake double spend situation that never happened has driven a lot of people to sell. But as we're going to get to in just a second, the smart money is buying up the Bitcoin and the altcoins that you just sold. So again, take a look at the article in full. This double spend rumor that's been circulating here, this boogeyman, never happened. Let's take a look at unfortunate news event number 2 on Forbes.com. Bitcoin losses near $200 billion as JP Morgan warns it's the least reliable dollar hedge. Who cares? I'm a somewhat conspiratorial individual, and not to get into all of my crazy theories, but the more I've been studying the news of the day, this juxtaposition of FUD and fairly negative news that is for the most part fake and manufactured against and contrasted against so much positive news that exists in the space. Like there's, I'd say, a 3 or a 4 to 1 ratio of good news to negative news, but everybody seems to be focusing on the negative. So going back to my point about being a little bit conspiratorial, the more that I look at the way this is forming, the way I'm thinking that this is almost some kind of a contrived media attack that perhaps the whales are taking advantage of, because it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, who cares what JP Morgan has to say, honestly? Critical quote here, according to Forbes. Bitcoin is showing some vulnerability at the end of such a strong month. It was seeing some pressure at $34,000 Wednesday and has since buckled, making a run at $30,000 highly likely, noted Oanda senior market analyst Craig Erlam Thursday morning. This level looks very vulnerable, and a breakdown below it is bad news in the near term for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general. So my theory, if you will, and it's not one I can prove, so don't get too excited, but my theory is that these analysts are jumping on fueling this fire that was caused by the false double spend event, and maybe are sending out some bearish signals to take advantage of kind of on their end, because that, believe me, is what the smart money is doing. Once again, we're going to get to that in just a second. The only piece of, legitimate, unfortunate news is what's happened here with Firo, formerly ZCoin, who tweeted this on the 19th of January, so a couple days ago. We are under 51% attack at the moment. That's not good. We recommend not to make any transactions during this time until the network returns to a normal state. We will post updates when we have them. Note, this is not a coding error, but a nature of POW, proof of work. We're working with exchanges and pools currently. Chain locks that would have prevented this were being tested on testnet and was weeks away from deployment. So this is legitimately, a bad piece of news, but it's very isolated and really applies only to Firo. Plus, nobody's talking about this in the wider space. Bitcoin and altcoins and Ethereum and Litecoin and other projects aren't tanking because Firo suffered a 51% attack. It's unfortunate for Firo, but really this is not being disseminated or discussed in the broader context. So that is the limited amount of negativity that we did want to address head on. Let's take a look at the rosier perspective right now. Let's take a look at the broader macro view and what the bigger whales in this space are doing, because believe me, they are taking advantage of you if you are choosing to sell your cryptocurrency to them. Plan B here at 100 trillion USD. $31.5 thousand Bitcoin feels low compared to 40,000 for sure. But did you really expect Bitcoin's price to front run S2F, that stock to flow model already? Stock to flow model is right on track, like clockwork. Patience. When in doubt, zoom out, guys. What's being lost in this fake smokescreen of FUD and hysteria is the positive news. Tyler Winklevoss pointing it out here. Big news. Blackrock CEO, leader of a $1 trillion asset manager, says Bitcoin could, quote, evolve into a global market asset. Depending on where you get your estimates, BlackRock ranges anywhere from $7 to $8 to $9 trillion in assets under management. And here, according to many write-ups here that you can find if you dig through some of the negativity here, for example, on Cointelegraph.com, we're getting more information about BlackRock's interest in Bitcoin. So BlackRock's new SEC filings list Bitcoin derivatives as possible investment. The multi-trillion-dollar asset manager mentions Bitcoin 25 times in its submissions with the SEC. CoinDesk is also writing about how BlackRock gives two funds the go-ahead to invest in Bitcoin futures. The world's largest asset manager appears to be getting into the blockchain game. Do you see what I mean about how when everybody's focusing on the FUD, when everybody's focusing on the negative, the biggest players, the biggest whales in the space have that contrarian perspective because they're taking advantage of this opportunity in the market. So is Anthony Scaramucci, by the way, and Skybridge. Their COO revealed that Bitcoin's fund grew to $370 million. That's up significantly. Skybridge COO Brett Messing concedes, however, that the fund has a one-year window before a Bitcoin ETF puts it out of business. For any fund or any company or any individual for that matter, high net worth individual that has committed to a Bitcoin financial strategy, any dip in the market, to the tune of what we're seeing now is a blessing because you can pick up crypto on the cheap. Why wouldn't you take advantage of such a market opportunity? More good news, as if that weren't enough. President Biden has frozen FinCEN's, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network's proposed crypto wallet regulations. So we were getting all kinds of FUD about FinCEN, at least for the time being. Newly elected President Biden has put a stop to those proposed regulations. President Joe Biden has frozen all regulatory processes, including proposed FinCEN rules detrimental to the crypto industry. How about some more good news? I'll put some on your plate here. You have an extra heaping of positivity. Ether could be heading for $10.5 thousand, says Fundstrat strategist. Ether's ongoing proof of stake upgrade, combined with its DeFi potential and new all-time high, could trigger its price to rise above $10,000, according to one analyst. We all know that Ether was on the precipice of a new all-time high, like a real breakout all-time high. I'm not talking about 1440, 1450. I'm talking about 16, 17, 1800, 2000, 2500, $3,000. It was just at the cusp of that breakout potential. And of course, Bitcoin spoiled the party, which is sometimes the nature of the game in this space. But once we get that reversal confirmed, you better believe Ethereum is off to the races. Check out our video yesterday for more information about some predictions and some metrics and some data that are suggesting Ethereum is very well positioned to take advantage here of the next few weeks, the next few months. Not the least of which is the metric that Bitcoin's daily transaction volume is actually less than Ethereum's right now. So you tell me that's not a good omen. How about some more good news? Sweden is working with distributed ledger technology, DLT, for its CBDC proof of concept. Sweden's central bank deputy governor recently updated the public on the country's CBDC exploration. Nebraska senator introduces bills to allow state banks to custody crypto. Quote, "We need to be a leader in fintech," said State Senator Mike Flood. And as if that weren't enough, we have great news out of Pornhub now. Because just in case you are at a loss for ways to pay for your pornography, they now accept various cryptocurrencies, including XRP, Dogecoin, BNB, and USDC. The adult entertainment website now accepts payment in 16 cryptocurrencies, as does another firm that we're going to look at in just a second, bit of a different industry, but more and more private sector firms, I guess add Pornhub to the list now, are accepting cryptocurrencies because they see the future, they see the potential, they see this asset class as deflationary, as being one that will grow over time in value. And so the smart money right now is buying cryptocurrency. We're buying altcoins, we're buying Bitcoins. Shash here just bought 2.67 Bitcoin at an average price of $31,691 per Bitcoin for a total of $84,766. And if Bitcoin slides a couple $1,000s more, if it slips below 30K, it doesn't make a difference in the long run. If anything, guys like Shash, guys like myself will just buy more when given the opportunity. And so we wanted to make sure today that in case you haven't heard about these developments with Blackrock, in case you haven't heard about these developments with Skybridge, in case you haven't heard about these FinCEN developments with regulations that have been postponed, in case you haven't heard about any of this good news in Sweden, in Nebraska, we're asking you to at least consider it. And with that consideration, with that kind of state of mind, ask yourself, are you buying this dip? We asked this 2 hours ago. So far, 1.4 thousand of you have responded, and the majority, 61%, are taking advantage of the dip. Guys, I'm not saying we can't slip any further. We've been, from the beginning, talking about a retracement of 20, 30, 40, maybe even 50%. It's not what anybody wants, but when that happens, you have to take advantage of these moments, because in the long term, we're going back to 40K. We're going back to 50K. We're going to 70, 80, 90, 100K, 200K, and beyond. So when we see a dip like this, there's only one way to react. It's not financial advice, but that is my firm stance. I am adamant about it. So if you haven't responded to this poll, do us a favor, check it out on the community page of our Altcoin Buzz YouTube channel. Let us know whether or not you are buying the dip. Okay, we have more good news now in the form of some of those other companies that I was alluding to that are exposing themselves to cryptocurrency. Pornhub exposing? This time we're talking about Travala.com. You can now book 3+ million travel products worldwide using Digibyte, which is a new addition to their ecosystem. Support crypto adoption and travel to 90,000 destinations with your favorite cryptocurrency. Book now on Travala.com. Travala, AVA, Digibyte, DGB, Digibyte Coin, all the different handles there. And Travala, I have to say, is really bolstering their offerings when it comes to your payment options via cryptocurrency. Because it's not just Bitcoin and Ethereum and now Digibyte. It is literally dozens of cryptocurrencies that you can use as payment options on Travala.com. These guys are one of the most aggressive, let's call them, companies outside of cryptocurrencies that are employing a cryptocurrency strategy. They are just ready to accumulate all of the crypto you are willing to throw at them. And what we saw the other day, companies like Booking.com, they're offering additional discounts as well. So talking about Crypto.com here with CRO, if you pay through Booking.com, you can get like a 25% discount on what would otherwise be your cost for travel through Booking.com. So expect to see more and more of this. Expect to see more and more crypto payment options as well. A big kudos to Travala.com. That is awesome. Okay, now we have some Elrond news here. Elrond's EGLD to add cold storage becoming available on the Samsung wallet and smartphones. Hashtag hypergrowth100 day 16. You can read more about that on Elrond.com. A nice partnership there with Samsung. Do you think that major Korean company is bullish or bearish right now when it comes to cryptocurrency? Ask yourselves, guys, what is the smart money doing? We have this update here regarding Origin. They're delivering on compensation promise. You can claim your oUSD and OGN now. Don't want to spend too much time on this, but in case this applies to you, on Cointelegraph.com, Origin Protocol begins accepting compensation claims following $7 million exploit. Co-founder Josh Frazier said he hopes the compensation plan will help build trust among users as the project moves forward. In the event that you were affected by what happened with Origin Protocol, check this out. We'll link to this information in the description below. So guys, to wrap things up with a little bit of positivity here, Grayscale, they are undaunted. Total assets under management, $27.2 billion. Recently, they were gobbling up 18 times the number of Bitcoin that is minted every day. That is to say, in one day, they acquired 18 times more Bitcoin than was mined, which is approximately 900 or so BTC at the current reward rate. So Grayscale, they remain undaunted. Michael Saylor, he remains undaunted. With this, I suppose, word of optimism here. Humanity advances by engineering, civil, chemical, biomedical, metallurgical, mechanical, nautical, electrical, aeronautical, astronautical, and now monetary. Hashtag Bitcoin. One last positive tweet here from Mr. Saylor, CEO of MicroStrategy. Corporations adopted oil, electricity, automobiles, and the internet. Bitcoin is next. So guys, don't feel too discouraged. Look, whether the price rises or drops another few $1,000s, have the long-term perspective. Not financial advice, of course, but from a personal perspective, you know what I'm doing, you know what Shash is doing, you know what some of the bigger fish and the bigger whales out there in the crypto ocean are doing. We are buying the dip. Dollar cost average and buy the dip when these events occur, because we won't get too many more opportunities like this. So guys, for all the latest info, be sure you're following us on all the social media channels. Keep checking back into altcoinbuzz.io for all the latest. Like, subscribe, share, and hit the bell for God's sakes to receive notifications, because we put out so much content. Best of luck, guys, if you do choose to invest. Stay safe out there, everybody. And as always, we hope to see you again soon in our next video. Take care.